Michael Wood is correct in that the East is much less violent and more focused on preserving the peace than the West, but he neglects to include some of China's violent history. Michael Wood's ideas expressed in The Mandate of Heaven had many things to back it up. Marco Polo, an experienced traveler, pondered China's capabilities and claimed that they had the power to take over the world, though they chose to remain passive. Part of that may have been due to Taoism, which taught the people of China that Earth, nature, and the cosmos were part of a harmonious order. With this knowledge, they did not get into the conflict which Western countries often got themselves into. Even with such strong proof toward this thesis, he disregards the fact that China did indeed have a violent side. China went through a stage of constant war during the Zhang dynasty. Also, they created and perfected the crossbow and chariot, both of which are used for violent purposes against Michael Wood, stating that the East is less violent than the West. Also, the city layouts went against this idea. The cities were walled in, and the only way out of them being through a small number of gates located around the city. This would not have been practical if China was the nature-oriented neutral civilization that Michael Wood talked about. Michael Wood's thesis was mainly correct, even though it left out some important facts that could have gone against it. We begin with the aspects of the film that further Michael Wood's thesis, going back to the ideals of harmony in China. The commonality of this concept is important because it calls the people to believe primarily that harmony and moral order were obtained through virtue, ritual, and reverence for ancestors. Furthermore, it taught them that they were not in control of nature, but were in control of the past. Keeping these ideals in mind, they went about their days making sure that they did not interrupt the harmony. For if they did, they were no better than the Westerners, who viewed nature as a form of control and exploitation. Additionally, because the country was able to avoid constant war, their supplies were not quickly drained. Therefore, more and more citizens were able to specialize in various arts such as writing, as seen in The Mandate of Heaven. This example of advanced specialization, not often found, especially in ancient civilizations, is just another example of how China had been in many ways the neutral civilization Michael Wood described. Although Michael Wood's thesis was very strong and had many supporting points, he did not mention some points that disprove his thesis. For a period of time after the Zhou dynasty regained power, there were a few centuries of constant conflict. The states would engage in long battles with each other.
This strongly disproves his thesis in that China was a peaceful place. The constant war isn't peaceful in any way. China also perfected the crossbow and chariots.
There had been no need for these war machines and no need to perfect them if China was the peaceful place that Michael Wood described. Lastly, the layouts of the cities in China were designed as if they were in or preparing for war.
Every city was walled in with a few scattered gates being the only exits from them. This lockdown of the city would not be necessary if war and fighting was not something that they were planning for. Michael Wood's thesis may have been right on many levels, but there were things that he left out to make his thesis seem stronger. Michael Wood's claim that China was a less violent place than the West is right in many ways. We believe that he was right in many ways. The Mandate of Heaven backed it up quite well. Marco Polo, an experienced traveler, claimed that Taoism, people were taught that nature and the cosmos were part of a harmonious order. They did not get into conflict with this knowledge. But even with such strong proof, there was still evidence against him, such as the constant war during the Shang dynasty, and they also perfected the crossbow and chariot, which are both war machines, and the cities were walled in, having few gates. Even with these downsides to his thesis, we both think that Michael Wood's thesis was mainly correct and had more things to back it up.